Of course, the primary aim is to assist the individual. In this session, we will see how to manage acute opioid withdrawals. This is also called as opioid detoxification. So, what do we aim for in this detoxification process? Of course, the primary aim is to assist the individual in smooth withdrawals so that he is able to tide over this period of withdrawal smoothly. But the secondary aim of detoxification includes that we enhance his motivation to quit opioids, to build a rapport and therapeutic alliance with the patient, and also to motivate him to continue engaging in treatment even after the period of detoxification is completed. As opioid detoxification is managing the acute opioid withdrawals, let us try to recall what are the various symptoms of acute opioid withdrawals which we discussed in the previous session. So, as mentioned before, the symptoms can be easily recalled if we know that opioid withdrawals causes opening of all holes in the body, which means that it will cause pupillary dilatation, it will cause lacrimation or watering eyes, rhinorrhea or running nose, yawning, it will cause vomiting and diarrhea, it will cause sweating and chills, it will cause goose flesh or piloerection, and it will also cause intense aches and pains of the body, large muscle cramps and abdominal cramps, and along with that a number of psychological symptoms including anxiety, restlessness, insomnia and irritability. What we also learned is that opioid withdrawals are not life-threatening unless there is some pre-existing problem in the patient like cardiovascular problems or respiratory problems. Otherwise, the opioid withdrawal symptoms are not fatal. However, they are extremely distressing, and that is what deters most of the patients from trying to abstain from opioids. The onset, the severity of opioid withdrawals, how long will they last, the duration of opioid withdrawals will depend upon a number of factors. One is how long has the individual been using these opioids. So duration of opioid use is an important factor. How much he has consumed in the recent past, say the last month or so, what is the usual amount of opioid that he has been consuming. Higher the amount, greater is the severity of withdrawals. Also his general health condition, presence of fever, comorbid physical or psychological illness also has impact on the severity of the opioid withdrawals. Finally, an important factor is the type of opioid consumed, which will determine how soon after stopping his opioid will he develop opioid withdrawals and how severe will these symptoms be. We will see this in the next slide. As mentioned in the previous slide, the onset, severity and the duration of opioid withdrawal will depend upon the type of opioid that the individual is using. So for example, in case of heroin, the opioid withdrawals will start about 6 to 8 hours after the individual has stopped using his heroin, which is similar to what we see in buprenorphine. But if you observe, the severity of opioid withdrawals is much higher, or the opioid withdrawals are much more severe in heroin user or heroin withdrawals as compared to buprenorphine withdrawals. The duration of heroin withdrawals also is for a shorter duration of time, about 5 to 6 days or 5 to 7 days, compared to buprenorphine withdrawals which may last for up to 7 to 10 days. Contrast this with methadone. An individual who is dependent on methadone, the onset of withdrawal symptoms will be only after about 2 to 3 days after stopping his methadone dose, and the severity is much less as compared to heroin. However, the withdrawals will last for almost up to 2 weeks because methadone is a long-acting opioid agonist as compared to a short-acting opioid such as heroin. So how do we assess for opioid withdrawal management? So we should initially take an history of opioid use. So how long the individual has been using opioids, what is the type of opioid that the individual uses predominantly and recently in the last 1 month, What is the quantity of opioid used? How frequently is the individual using opioids? How does he use the opioid? Is it orally, inhalation, or through injecting route? And when was the last time that he has used his opioids? Similarly, we also need to ask for history of use of other psychoactive substances, especially use of depressants such as alcohol or benzodiazepines. If the person also is using these substances, then some of the opioid withdrawal symptoms will be masked by the use of substances such as alcohol or benzodiazepines. We also need to inquire about complications that have occurred in the individual due to opioid use, be it in the physical, psychological, social, occupational, or legal domains. Similarly, we need to inquire about the presence of any comorbid medical or psychiatric illnesses. In physical examination, in the general physical examination, we need to look for signs of opioid withdrawals, which may be apparent in the form of lacrimation, running nose, tear in eyes, sweating, goose flesh, or pupillary dilatation. Also, one may get injection marks if the person is using opioids through injecting route, or burnt mark on fingertips if the person is using heroin through chasing. Also, we need to conduct a systemic examination to assess his cardiovascular, respiratory, per abdomen and CNS system. We can also make use of some structured scale for measuring opioid withdrawal severity. One common scale that is used in day-to-day setting is Clinical Opiate Withdrawal Scale, or COWS. Now this is a 11-item scale that can be completed in about 5 minutes. So it is very easy to administer and it can be administered quickly. It assesses a number of opioid withdrawal symptoms such as pulse rate, GI upset, sweating, tremors, so on and so forth. The maximum possible score is 48 and it is available for free download. Now when it comes to management of opioid withdrawals or opioid detox, let us discuss the management in terms of the setting, the general measures that are to be adopted, the pharmacotherapy and post-withdrawal management. In terms of setting for opioid detoxification, where should opioid detoxification be done? It is not necessary for every patient of opioid withdrawals to be admitted and treated in inpatient setting. In fact, most patients can be managed in outpatient setting itself. Some of the indications for inpatient management for opioid withdrawals include failed outpatient treatment. So we have attempted opioid withdrawal management in OPD, but the person is not able to stop his opioids either currently or in the past. Comorbid use of other depressants such as alcohol or benzodiazepine, especially in dependent pattern, then that will create difficulty in managing both alcohol or benzodiazepine withdrawal as well as opioid withdrawals. Inpatient setting is better for such patients. If the patient is having severe withdrawals, similarly those with comorbid severe medical or psychological illnesses, or those with poor social support, so if we have to compare the outpatient and inpatient setting on various parameters, we can see here that in case of outpatient setting, it takes weeks or months for the detox to be completed, whereas in inpatient setting, it may take about 2 to 3 weeks. In terms of ease of adjustment of medicines, depending upon the severity of withdrawals, it is much easier to do so in inpatient setting compared to outpatient. The cost of treatment is much cheaper in outpatient compared to inpatient. Also, if a person has craving, he may have very easy access to illicit opioids in outpatient setting compared to inpatient setting. The rate of success of detox also is more in inpatient setting compared to outpatient. But in terms of convenience for the patient, outpatient setting is much better than inpatient setting. So both of the settings have their own sets of advantages and disadvantages. However, if we have to treat a large number of patients, it's much easier to do so on outpatient basis as compared to admitting the patient and treating his withdrawals. Before we talk of specific medication for treatment of opioid withdrawals, what are some of the general measures that needs to be adopted during treatment of opioid withdrawals? The environment in which the person is placed should be quiet and calm. Of specific medication for treatment of opioid withdrawals, what are some of the general measures that needs to be adopted during treatment of opioid withdrawals? The environment in which the person is placed should be quiet and calm. The individual should be receiving adequate sleep and rest during the detox period. The person needs to be reassured frequently that these withdrawals will stop in some time, that he's taken a good decision to stop his opioid use, and so on. Sometimes it is also reported that frequent bathing may be helpful in reducing the severity of withdrawals. Moderate physical exercise can be beneficial, but vigorous physical exercise is not seen to be beneficial. Some people have this myth that vigorous exercise can help in reducing the severity of withdrawals. It is not so in case of opioid withdrawals. Similarly, relaxation exercises, breathing exercises, meditation also can make a person calm and take care of some of his withdrawal symptoms. Many times, in some people becoming overzealous, they may try to counsel or they may provide psychological therapy during acute withdrawal phase. What is seen is that such kind of therapies is not benefit in acute withdrawals when the patient is in pain and he is not interested in listening to anybody. So what are the medications that can be used in opioid detoxification? What is important to remember is that pharmacotherapy is the mainstay of opioid detoxification. General measures alone, counseling alone is not going to help a patient during detox period. The medications that are used are opioids, supportive medications, or alpha-2 adrenergic agents. Among all of this, opioids are the medications indicated for treatment of opioid withdrawals. Out of these, buprenorphine is found to be much better compared to other opioids in providing opioid withdrawal treatment. Before we discuss withdrawal management with each of these medications, how do we initiate any medication? As we discussed before, we need to first conduct assessment and examine the patient, make a diagnosis of opioid dependence, see how severe the withdrawals are, assess for withdrawals, as well as inquire for last dose of illicit opioids. You may recall that we had discussed that the onset of opioid withdrawals will depend upon how long back the person has stopped using his illicit opioids. If withdrawals are present and the last dose of illicit opioids was at least 6 to 8 hours before, then we can initiate pharmacotherapy for opioid withdrawal management in such patients. Now let us discuss buprenorphine based opioid detoxification. Now we should remember that buprenorphine is the most suitable opioid medication for opioid detoxification. This can be used in outpatient as well as in inpatient setting. As we discussed in the previous session, that buprenorphine is a partial agonist on mu-opioid receptor, and because of this partial agonist action, it has what is called a ceiling effect, which means that even if we keep on increasing the dose of buprenorphine, the opioid effect will not increase beyond a certain dosage. And this property is important because buprenorphine will not cause overdose even if we increase the dose beyond which the patient can tolerate. And that's why buprenorphine has a higher safety profile as compared to other opioids. What we also need to remember in case of buprenorphine is that it has a higher affinity to opioid receptor, which means that if the brain receptor is already occupied with heroin, buprenorphine will displace heroin from the opioid receptor. That will lead to precipitated withdrawal. That's why buprenorphine should be initiated in a patient after having at least a gap of about 4 to 6 hours since his last illicit opioid use. We will discuss more about these two aspects when we discuss long-term agonist maintenance in the next session. Now, if buprenorphine is taken by oral route, it has high first pass metabolism, and that's why it's effective by sublingual route. The effect of sublingual route starts by 15 to 20 minutes and the peak effect is observed in about 2 to 4 hours. But because of its slow dissociation from opioid receptors, the half-life of buprenorphine is at 24 to 36 hours if adequate dose of buprenorphine is given. The final metabolism of buprenorphine occurs in liver, and that's why one needs careful administration in case a person has liver dysfunction. Buprenorphine is generally well tolerated. The serious side effects are very rare, and the common side effects that we see in patients are generally related to the dose of buprenorphine. So for example, the common subjective symptoms include constipation or sedation, which can be due to higher dose of buprenorphine that we may be administering the patient. Similarly, body aches and pains may be because of lower dose. Itching or vomiting can be seen in some patients, especially in the initial days. So if you look at the list of common symptoms, they are milder in nature and do not pose a reason for stopping buprenorphine. So how do we provide buprenorphine based withdrawal management on outpatient basis? So on day 1, what we do is we provide buprenorphine in doses of about 4 to 6 milligram or 4 to 8 milligram per day, but this entire dose is to be divided into 3 divided doses given 8 hours apart. We may also prescribe some adjuvant medications such as diazepam or nitrazepam for sleep at night, or ibuprofen or diclofenac tablet for body aches if the patient requires it. The follow-up in outpatient basis, because follow-up cannot be done on a daily basis, so we may advise follow-up 1 to 2 times a week. We need to remember here, because when we look at the next session, we would observe that the dose of buprenorphine that is required for detoxification is generally less than what is required for maintenance treatment. This is because at dose of 4 to 8 milligram, the dose is sufficient for relief of withdrawals and craving, whereas a dose of more than 8 milligram per day of buprenorphine is required for maintaining the patient for opioid agonist maintenance treatment. So when the patient comes for follow-up after receiving his first day of consultation, in follow-up we will inquire about opioid withdrawals, whether the patient experienced any opioid withdrawals after his last visit, inquire whether he has taken any illicit opioids or other substances since his last visit, inquire how has he been sleeping or how is his appetite. Now what is important to remember is that if the illicit opioid use continues in the same frequency or in the same dose as before, then it is better that the patient is admitted and we do the detoxification in inpatient setting. If the patient is not using illicit opioids, if he has stopped his illicit opioids, then after about 10 days to 2 weeks, we can start tapering buprenorphine. There is no fixed regimen for tapering buprenorphine. We can taper in doses of 0.8 to 1.2 milligram every 1 to 2 weeks. What is the protocol for inpatient detoxification? Like for outpatient detoxification, we will start in doses of about 4 to 6 or 4 to 8 milligrams per day, divided into 3 divided doses 8 hours apart. We can increase because the patient is admitted in front of us, so we can increase the dose of buprenorphine on day 2 to day 4 as necessary. We can continuously monitor the patient's withdrawal symptoms using the clinical opiate withdrawal scale. We can also titrate the dose of adjuvants required for sleep or body aches as once the patient is comfortable for the initial 4 to 5 days, we can start tapering in discussion with the patient by day 5 to day 7. What we need to remember is that while buprenorphine is the best treatment for opioid withdrawal management, however, buprenorphine is not available in all inpatient facilities. The highest strength of buprenorphine, which is 0.4 and 2 milligram, is not available for sale in chemist shop. In such scenario, it may be necessary to use. Now, tramadol is also an opioid agonist, but it's a weak opioid agonist. It has only 10% of the analgesic potency of morphine. It can be administered orally and it is rapidly absorbed, and the peak plasma concentration occurs by about 2 hours after oral administration. Both plain and sustained release formulations of tramadol is that while buprenorphine is the best treatment for opioid withdrawal management, however, buprenorphine is not available in all inpatient facilities. The highest strength of buprenorphine, which is 0.4 and 2 milligram, is not available for sale in chemist shop. In such scenario, it may be necessary to use other opioids which are easily available in pharmaceutical shops. One such opioid is tramadol. Now, tramadol is also an opioid agonist, but it's a weak opioid agonist. It has only 10% of the analgesic potency of morphine. It can be administered orally and it is rapidly absorbed, and the peak plasma concentration occurs by about 2 hours after oral administration. Both plain and sustained release formulations of tramadol are available. The plain formulation is effective only for about 4 to 6 hours, whereas sustained release formulation can give cover for about 8 to 12 hours. The adverse effect of tramadol is similar to other opioids, though some adverse effects may be less in tramadol as compared to other opioids because it is a weak agonist. However, one major adverse effect with tramadol is increased risk of seizures, especially when we use doses of more than 400 to 450 milligram in a day. Tramadol is commonly available as tablets or in capsule formulation in 50 milligram strengths. As I mentioned in the previous slide, that it is an inferior alternative to buprenorphine in opioid detoxification. The only advantage of tramadol is that it is available in pharmacies. So if a doctor prescribes tramadol, the patient can go to the pharmacy shop and can get tramadol. Buprenorphine is not available in pharmacy shops. The disadvantage for tramadol is that it is not as effective as buprenorphine, and hence the adherence rate to the treatment with tramadol is lower as compared to buprenorphine. So what is the dose of tramadol that we use in detoxification? Generally 250 to 400 milligram per day in 3 divided doses of tramadol is provided on the first day. Here also we use adjuvant medication for sleep and body aches. The tapering regimen is similar to buprenorphine for both outpatient as well as inpatient. So we can taper in doses of 50 milligram during every taper, that is every day in case of inpatient detox, or every week to 2 weeks in case of outpatient detox. So the tapering in outpatient will be completed by 6 to 12 weeks, and in inpatient it will be completed by about 2 to 3 weeks. Now, in the absence of buprenorphine and tramadol, one may try to manage opioid withdrawals using other medications for symptomatic relief. So these may be used for the initial 3 to 7 days or 7 to 10 days or so. But what we need to remember is that this is least effective and least acceptable way of managing opioid withdrawals. Most patients do not find it acceptable and they go back to opioid use if we do not provide them relief from withdrawals by using opioid agonist. So what kind of medicines can be used as symptomatic treatment? We can use diazepam or nitrazepam in doses of about 10 to 20 milligram per day. The benefit is that it will be able to take care of the sleep, anxiety and restlessness. It also can produce central muscle relaxation. We may use NSAIDs like ibuprofen in doses of about 1200 to 1600 milligram per day, which will cause improvement in muscle pain. We may use antiemetics such as ondansetron or domperidone for vomiting, or we may use diphenoxylate 1 to 2 tablets per day for control of diarrhea. Alpha-2 adrenergic agonists such as clonidine or lofexidine can be used also for managing opioid withdrawals. These medications provide relief in opioid withdrawals by reducing the sympathetic overactivity, which brings about relief in sweating, diarrhea, vomiting, abdominal cramps, chills, anxiety and insomnia. So these are some of the symptoms which are improved by use of such medications. In India, clonidine alone is available. The problem with using such medication, especially clonidine, is the dangerous adverse effect of postural hypotension. That's why we need to constantly monitor the blood pressure when we use clonidine based detoxification, and if you plan to use clonidine, it is best to be done in inpatient setting. Clonidine is generally available as 100 microgram tablet, and the doses that is used for opioid detox is about 0.4 to 1.2 milligram per day. This is divided into 3 to 4 divided doses. Use it for the initial, continue the same dose for the initial 3 to 4 days, and then start tapering. This medication, both the symptomatic medications as well as clonidine, is to be used unless if we don't have any other option for opioid withdrawal management. Otherwise, opioid withdrawals are best treated by using other opioids such as buprenorphine or tramadol. What we need to remember in the end is that detoxification alone is not sufficient, because if detoxification alone is provided, there is a high chance of patient going back to his opioids. There is a high chance of relapse. In fact, studies show that almost 90 to 95% of patients who undergo detoxification alone relapse back to opioid use within 1 month of completion of detoxification. After the initial 5 to 7 days when the patient is undergoing detoxification, after his acute withdrawal symptoms are reduced greatly, the time that is remaining, another 1 week, 10 days, should be spent in enhancing the patient motivation and to encourage him, motivate him to continue treatment even after detoxification is completed. So post detoxification, he can start either antagonist or agonist maintenance treatment. What we also need to remember is that if you are offering only detoxification, post detoxification period is also a high risk for overdose if a person relapses back to using illicit opioids. In such cases, and that's why we need to educate every patient who is undergoing detoxification on prevention of opioid overdose.